up on Raceweek. You want fast? Find out why CART hit the brakes in Texas. You want scary? Try the IRL under the lights in Atlanta. You want drama? Catch the last lap of the Spanish Grand Prix. You want Cinderella? She's a he, riding a superbike in Japan. Don't worry, we'll put all the pieces together for you. This is Raceweek, and there's no stopping us now.
It's disappointing, but yet necessary for me to announce that CART, along with its teams, its drivers, its manufacturers and sponsors, have determined that we must postpone today's race.
And so, for the first time since 1985, a CART FedEx Championship race was postponed over safety issues. Back then, it was Michigan and concerns over tires. This weekend, Texas. And an ironic problem for racers, the effects of too much speed.
And what happened at the Texas 600 this week raises the question, just how fast is too fast? Well, too fast is well in excess of 230 miles an hour, negotiating 24-degree banks that result in G-forces strong enough to make a driver dizzy. And that was the issue this week. Everyone seemed to agree that Texas Motor Speedway is a world-class facility. As Dario Franchitti said, the problem lies with the cars, not the track. Drivers were hitting speeds this week, the likes of which they had never seen before. You're on board here with Adrian Fernandez. Now watch and listen as he tops 230 miles an hour. And just imagine trying to maintain that pace for roughly 372 miles. Now that's frightening enough, but it finally caught up with Mo Gugelman during a practice run. He lost control coming out of turn 2, slamming into the wall halfway down the back straight. Incredibly, he escaped without serious injury. But the drivers decided enough was enough. On Sunday, the team started packing up, and there would be no race this week at Texas Motor Speedway. Speedvision.com's Jeremy Shaw has been in Fort Worth all week, and he brings us up to speed on this precedent-setting decision.
So Texas Motor Speedway, we knew it was going to be fast when we came in here, but really too fast. You know, the cars are going much faster than they tested. And that turned out to be a big, big problem for the drivers. The G-force is really too much to bear, as CART Director of Medical Affairs, Dr. Steve Olvey, explained.
We really could not send drivers out in a situation that is totally unknown, with the risk of having a driver becoming disoriented, confused, sick, or actually become unconscious in the car trying to compete in a race.
I must say, in my 20-some years of auto racing, I've never experienced what I was experiencing out there this weekend. The G-forces that were put on our body were way beyond what I could even imagine.
But the bottom line point is, CART should have known. We questioned the speed in meetings, in letters. We even offered some of our own suggestions of what to do to the cars. On April 21st, I got a letter from Joe Heitzler that said, quote, "CART is ready, willing, and able to run the race."
A lot of drivers expressed concerns about the speeds here at Texas Motor Speedway right from the first time the race was announced 8 months ago. Nothing was done about it until way too late. It was really after Friday. A couple of drivers said to Steve Olvey they were feeling a bit nauseous or a bit dizzy after getting out of the car. That's when he started to pay attention. And then at the drivers' meeting yesterday afternoon, he asked drivers who had experienced any kind of discomfort to put their hands up. I think to everybody's surprise, almost everybody did. It was then that the gears really switched into high gear, and somebody decided, yeah, we've got to do something to slow down these cars. They thought about a lot of different options. They thought about maybe reducing the turbo boost. They thought about putting a larger rear wicker on the car to make the cars a little bit slower on the straights. But in the end, they decided it was just too late to effect a good, safe, easy fix that would be good for the race. So regrettably, they had to cancel the race just 2 hours before it was supposed to go. This is Jeremy Shaw reporting for Speedvision News Raceweek.
Jeremy, thank you. Right now, the operative word is postponed, but there is no word on a new date. Gossage did say they will not run on Texas's road course. The contract calls for an oval race. Gossage wants an oval race. We'll have more from Texas later in the show. And this story still has a long way to run. But now let's turn to Formula One. Despite 4 races already in the books this season, the World Championship was back to square one in round 5, technologically speaking. The Spanish Grand Prix featured the return of electronic driver aids, computers controlling wheel spin, gear shifts, and getaways. The question was, would those emotionless computers remove all drama from the racing? The answer came as the cars rolled off on their formation lap, all that is except the McLaren of David Coulthard, which stalled on the grid. He got going but started from the back of the field. When the lights went out, the yellow Jordan Honda of Heinz-Harald Frentzen wouldn't budge. He too got going while Michael Schumacher led away from pole. Juan Montoya raced from 11th to 6th, which became 5th when he passed Jarno Trulli with a quicker pit stop. And 4th when Williams teammate Ralf Schumacher, coming off his first win 2 weeks ago in Italy, threw it off the road. Rubens Barrichello might have had suspension breakage before he went off. He certainly had it when he got back on. The Brazilian pitted for a tire change, but his race was over. Up front, Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen traded the lead on pit stops and blazing in and out laps. Hakkinen finally wound up with it after his second and final stop. Meanwhile, his teammate David Coulthard was charging through the field. At the end of the long front straightaway, he passes Nick Heidfeld for the 6th position, with teammate Mika Hakkinen out front and pulling away. That is until the final lap, when the Finn's car slowed and began smoking. Blown clutch. Hakkinen came up 4 corners short of the checkered flag, while Schumacher closed the gap and finally passed the stricken McLaren for an impossible victory. Afterward, the German commiserated with Hakkinen on a wild stroke of luck. Bad for Hakkinen, good for Schumi.
See him then retiring just in the last lap, 5 corners or whatever to go to the end. It's, I mean, it's shocking because he's really done everything right, and then something like this. I'm sorry for him. I went to see him because it's not a way you like to win a race, honestly.
The win was Schumacher's 47th, putting him just 4 behind Alain Prost for the all-time lead. Former kart champions and Indy 500 winners Juan Pablo Montoya and Jacques Villeneuve joined the world champ on the podium. Coulthard's hard drive netted him 5th at the end. Villeneuve's BAR teammate Olivier Panis finished 7th. Hakkinen wound up 9th, 1 lap down. Barrichello 17th, Eddie Irvine 18th, and Ralf Schumacher 19th. In the championship, the elder Schumacher now leads Coulthard by 8 points, while Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher gained no ground at all. Two-time world champ Hakkinen is buried in 9th place with just 4 points. In the Constructors' title chase, Ferrari expanded their lead to 18 points over McLaren, while Williams consolidated their 3rd place following the Big Two. Also at Barcelona, round 3 of the Formula 3000 season was won by Thomas Engie, who beat teammate and pole sitter Justin Wilson to the first turn and led all the way. Belgian Bas Leenders nipped Wilson for 2nd at the end. American Derek Hill qualified 21st and finished 16th. And at Donington Park in England, BAR test driver Takuma Sato and Andre Lauderer each earned their maiden victories in round 2 of the British Formula 3 series. Among young Americans in the series, Paul Edwards posted a 5th place finish in one of the races, while Jeffrey Jones went 6-7 and Alex Gurney was 9th in race 2. It is time for our first pit stop of the day, but when we come back, we'll take you to Atlanta for Saturday night's IRL race. Remember last time out, Sarah Fisher finished 2nd to Sam Hornish. What kind of storyline would unfold this week? Stay tuned. We are coming right back.
Car with new...
Welcome back to Speedvision News Raceweek.
Saturday night at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Indy Racing Northern Light Series competed for the final time before activity begins at Indianapolis next week. If that means the race was an indication of what to expect on Memorial Day weekend, the smart early money is on Greg Ray. Ray grabbed his series-high 10th career pole easily over Jeff Ward, who runs an engine built by Ray's team, Menard. The Infinity program doesn't look 500 ready. Just ask Eddie Cheever. His failed 33 laps in. Then on lap 53, a frightening accident sparked by Corey Witherill in his first race in the series. Eventually, 10 cars gathered up, including Al Unser Jr., Robbie Buell, Dr. Jack Miller, Casey Mears, and more. Here's the view from Sarah Fisher's onboard camera. She plows through a hailstorm of debris and becomes the 11th damaged car. The race was under caution for 35 laps. Fisher's crew got her back out on track. She'd finish 11th. From another angle, you can see the violence of Miller's role in the wreck, losing all 4 wheels as the chassis tumbles and is hit again and again by other cars. Miller was the only driver to suffer a serious injury. He was airlifted to an Atlanta hospital and held overnight with a concussion. After the restart, Ray, who gave up the lead on a pit stop, drove around Ward to retake the position and would not be caught. When Ward made his stop, a broken alternator caused him to stall, derailing his chances. He'd finished 7th.
Ray was so strong he nearly lapped the field, then slowed to conserve fuel and save himself a late stop. That allowed Scott Sharp to repass en route to a runner-up finish. At the flag, Ray wrapped up a dominating win, his 5th, tying Sharp for most in history.
Well, for the second consecutive year, it's Greg Ray who captures the Atlanta 500. Greg, you had the dominant car all night, but you still had to roll the dice at the end.
Yeah, I tell you what, Team Menard did a great job. We had a great car all night long, and we could really run the pace we wanted to. It was fantastic in traffic. But we knew with some of the accidents early on and the yellows that we caught, this is sort of a 50-lap fuel sequence, and we had to pit before that last sequence. So we had to kind of stretch the last 2 pit stops to about 57 laps apiece, and that's really not good. So the last 5, 6, 7 laps I was having to lift really big. 4 or 5 laps before that I was having to lift, and I was really just concerned with keeping Sam Hornish behind us. But I tell you what, as a race car driver, the most difficult thing you can do is lift on that throttle, let other cars pass you, and not knowing how far he's back there. So luckily for us, it went our way. We had a great car, and it'd have been a shame not to win. We had such a great car.
How important is it to win here and gather momentum as you head into the month of May?
Well, I tell you what, I think it's important in a lot of ways. We're really far behind in the championship hunt. We had great cars both at Phoenix and Homestead. I feel like we could have won at least one of those, if not both of those, and we had fuel problems. So to come here, A, it helps put us back in the championship hunt and get us some points. B, it's always great to repeat and get the monkey off your back. But going into the month of May, again, these guys are going to have to work, 3 weeks straight, 10, 12 hours a day. And the biggest thing for them is that confidence and that big ego boost to know that they've done a great job, and that's gonna mean a lot to them when they're working those late hours, getting ready for the Indy 500.
Congratulations, mate.
Thanks, Calvin.
Well, for Greg Ray, he does a great job here this evening. They stop that Panther juggernaut as they head into the month of May. For Speedvision News Raceweek, I'm Calvin Fish reporting from Atlanta Motor Speedway.
All right, thanks, Calvin. So it looks like Greg Ray is the horse to back when Indianapolis opens for business. Buzz Calkins finished 3rd behind Scott Sharp, the man he tied for the first IRL title back in '96. Sam Hornish Jr. finished 4th, ending his win streak at 2, as Calvin mentioned. Eliseo Salazar and Buddy Lazier round out the top 6. Hornish remains the points leader over Salazar, but the man on the move was Ray, whose win propels him from 23rd in the championship all the way up to 9th, though he still trails leader Hornish by 67. And as mentioned, up next, all eyes are on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which opens for practice next Sunday.
Motorsports suffered another high-profile tragedy on Wednesday when Michele Alboreto was killed in an accident while testing an Audi sports car at the new Lausitzring complex in Germany. Alboreto lost control of the car on a straightaway, hit the Armco barrier, and rolled several times. Both the team and the German police are investigating. Alboreto began his career in 1976, winning a Formula 3 title before moving to Formula 1 in 1981 with the Tyrrell team. He scored his first win the following year at Las Vegas, his second the next year in Detroit. In 1984, Enzo Ferrari called, putting aside his reluctance to hire Italian drivers. Alboreto stayed for 5 years, winning 3 times and finishing runner-up to Alain Prost in the 1985 championship. He also trailed teammate Gerhard Berger at Monza in 1988 for an emotional Ferrari 1-2 finish just weeks after Enzo's death. After Ferrari, Alboreto joined several mediocre F1 teams, then appeared in touring cars and even the Indy Racing League. He finally found a home in sports cars, winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1997 in a Porsche. His final victory came this past March at the 12 Hours of Sebring in an Audi. He is survived by wife Nadia, 2 daughters, and a world of friends. Michele Alboreto was 44 years old. Okay, imagine this. Local boy makes his first start on a factory superbike and earns the Super Pole. Now, if this were Hollywood, the kid would wind up winning twice on race day, whipping the fans into a frenzy, and then he would become an instant superhero. Well, Hollywood screenplays like that wind up in the circular file for being absolutely unbelievable. If you're interested in seeing what happened in real life in round 4 of the World Superbike Championship, you can see it in its entirety here on Speedvision. But I'm about to show you the highlights, so you decide. here we go. To Sugo, Japan, where Hollywood comes alive. The start of race 1, Troy Corser grabs the lead, followed by Ben Bostrom and Hiroyasu Izutsu in third. But don't look now, here comes our hero, 24-year-old Makoto Tamada, the pole sitter, passing Izutsu for second place, trailing only Corser. At the end of the 5th lap, Tamada finally catches Corser, easily passing him for the race lead, and that's all she wrote, folks. Tamada pulls away for the 4-second victory over Corser in race 1. Now, the start of the day's second race. Bostrom leading the pack into the first bend, but that lead would be awfully short-lived, as Izutsu, the double winner here last year, passes him for the top spot. But then with 10 laps to go, Mr. Tamada decides to get serious again, passing his countryman Izutsu into the lead for good, and again he pulls away for the victory, this time by more than 3 seconds. Izutsu second and Tamaki Serizawa in third. Troy Corser with a second and a 6th, padding his overall lead on Sunday. Now 22 points ahead of the other Troy, Bayless, with American Colin Edwards in third. Tamada, by the way, now moves into 7th. Be sure to join us next Sunday as defending champion Matt Mladen leads the field at Sears Points. It's live AMA Superbike racing here on Speedvision, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. Then right after race week, the GP riders are in action from Spain. The 250s hit the track at 8 Eastern, followed by the 500s at 9. That's all right here on Speedvision next Sunday. Now to NASCAR, and in a bizarre week, it doesn't get any more bizarre than this. On Friday, a Nashville radio station reported erroneously that defending Winston Cup champion Bobby Labonte had been killed in an accident in California. The rumor then hit the internet and started to spread like wildfire. So how do you quell a false report as serious as that? You do what Labonte did that afternoon. You go out and grab the pole for Sunday's Napa 500. He wouldn't be there at the end, however. Labonte suffered crash damage and wound up 22nd. The race was won by Rusty Wallace, his first win in 21 starts, 8th different winner of the Winston Cup season. Jeff Gordon finished second. And how about Dale Earnhardt Jr., who took a provisional, started 37th, and ran all the way to third. Tony Stewart, Jeremy Mayfield, and Ricky Rudd rounded out the top 6. In the championship, leader Dale Jarrett came in with a 145-point bulge over Jeff Gordon, but Jarrett finished 24th in California, and that lead is now down to just 66 points. A day earlier at Fontana, Hank Parker Jr. started 26th and wound up the second first-time Busch Series winner this year, taking the checkers on fumes and beating out Jeff Purvis and Jeff Green. Parker's the 9th winner in the 10 Busch races in 2001. He had to ask where victory lane was. We assume he knew what to do when he got there. Kevin Harvick finished 5th at Fontana, Greg Biffle 7th, meaning Harvick leads rookie Biffle by just 2 in the points. Defending champion Jeff Green is another 39 back. All right, stay with us. In a moment, we'll head back to Texas Motor Speedway and hear from one of the drivers regarding Sunday's shocking decision not to run that kart race. We're coming right back. Once again, our top story on this edition of Race Week is kart's postponement of their series debut at Texas Motor Speedway. Patrick Carpentier explains what the drivers were experiencing.
I was really dizzy on Friday morning getting out of the car, and I was struggling to find my balance. And all the drivers experienced that, and some of the drivers tried to do a long run. And once they passed the 35-40 laps mark, they started losing vision, and some of them started losing, feel like they were losing consciousness. So I think it was a great decision. We could have lost a couple of drivers today, and we could have killed some fans. So I think that the only decision we had to make was to postpone the race, wait, take a look at things, and see what's going to happen.
Tell me your reaction when in the drivers' meeting everybody put up their hand, basically, who was experiencing that.
Yeah, everybody did. I did Friday morning. I didn't know. I thought it was because of the surgery I had on my arm, and I've never been dizzy before. And for some reason, Friday morning, I couldn't get my balance back for like 4 or 5 minutes, which is a long time. And I had no clue it was because the speed and the G-force were pulling inside the car. I thought it was just because I got the anesthesia and the surgery last week. But everybody, when I learned that everybody was experiencing it, I thought it was going to be a huge problem today for the race. And I was just praying that there was not going to be any tragedy.
One final note from Texas. Veteran car owner Dale Coyne's team was not on site for the event due to lack of sponsorship. Now, there was no race. They may show up in the next round at Nazareth. If they don't, they put in jeopardy a streak of 177 consecutive starts, third longest in the series behind Penske Racing and Newman Haas. To the NHRA now, where Don the Snake Prudhomme is proving to be just as tough an owner as he was a driver. Coming into the inaugural Mack Tools Thunder Valley Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee, Prudhomme's guys had picked up wins in the previous 2 weekends. We'll start with the Top Fuel Finals. Doug Kalitta and Tony Schumacher going at it. Kalitta, on the right side of your screen, pulls away. Schumacher losing a blower belt late in the run, and Kalitta wins it over 300 miles an hour. On to the funny car finale. Ron Capps, who drives for Don Prudhomme, and Al Hoffman, and Capps gets the job done for the Snake. So, your final Top Fuel, Doug Kalitta at over 300 miles an hour is your winner. Ron Capps giving Prudhomme 3 straight wins in funny car, joining Larry Dixon and Tommy Johnson Jr. And in pro stock, the first national event victory for Greg Anderson, beating Jim Yates by 5/1,000th of a second.
We'll be back with our Lowe's move of the week in a moment. Stay with us.
You're watching Speedvision News Raceweek. Speedvision News Raceweek is sponsored by Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. Lowe's, improving home improvement. And Corona. Relax and enjoy a Corona.
There was racing at Texas Motor Speedway on Saturday. Indy Lights rookie Damian Faulkner won from pole in his first career oval track race. The race ended under caution with Derek Higgins coming in second. Higgins, by the way, now has a 52-point championship lead.
Time for this week's Lowe's Move of the Week. And how can anything top the scene from the new Stallone action flick Driven, in which a car gets airborne during a race in Detroit and plucky hot shoe Jimmy Bly drives directly underneath the falling car? The best movie sequence involving a race car since Pete Aaron drove his Jordan BRM into Monaco Harbor in Grand Prix. That's our Lowe's Move of the Week. And we should point out that Driven topped the box office charts this weekend in its opening nationwide, taking in more than $13 million.
Just once before I call it a career, I want to be called a plucky hot shoe.
Stick around.
Just once. Yeah. Thanks for watching this edition of Race Week. He's Bob Varsha. I'm Bill Patrick. So long, everybody.